Hello, and thank you for your interest in Transformations Rehab Services. For those of you who may not know me, allow me just a few moments to introduce myself and share some of the unique services and breakthrough technologies that we have available. My name is Marco Rodriguez. My lovely wife, Diane, and I own Transformations Rehab Services. And throughout the years, we've been blessed with a great staff and have built one of the largest clinics of its kind in the country. Now, in the past, Transformations Rehab was known primarily for treating pediatrics with ADD, ADHD, autism, as well as many other neurologic atypicalities, and we're still doing that. However, recently we made the decision to expand our services to include adults. Now, what kind of adults? Well, over the past several years, there have been an increased amount of media attention on the topic of mental health of our active duty soldiers as well as retired veterans. Traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, as well as many other neurologically based dysfunctions plague many of our warriors, robbing them of their ability to enjoy the very freedoms they fought so hard to protect. Sadly, the number of veteran suicides has exceeded over 6,000 each year since 2008. And I believe this is a national tragedy. They deserve better. With that in mind, the mental health and overall cognitive health of our men and women in uniform has become a top priority at Transformations. Recently, the President's roadmap to empower veterans and end the national tragedy of suicide, or PREVENT for short, was mandated by an executive order and signed by the President in March of 2019, establishing a cabinet-level task force aimed at developing a national roadmap for suicide prevention. And we would like to do our part. That is why, effective immediately, Transformations is now offering relatively new breakthrough technologies, giving us the opportunity to take a three-dimensional image of the brain's electrical activity, giving us the ability to more specifically identify and treat brainwave dysregulation associated with the various neurologic dysfunctions. And how do we do that? Well, it's called QEEG, also known as brain mapping. For the first time in the city of El Paso, we have the technology which allows us to look inside the brain and record electrical abnormalities which may coincide with a person's dysfunctional and deficiencies. Now, why is that important? Well, it's no secret that many neurologic disorders go misdiagnosed or improperly diagnosed, as well as improperly treated, because until now, their technology didn't exist, which was capable of taking a three-dimensional image of the electrical activity of the brain and measuring brainwave dysfunction associated with neurologic abnormalities. And that is now a thing of the past. With our brain mapping systems, Transformations can help you identify neurologic dysfunctions. Breakthroughs in neuroscience points to the fact that there are certain neurologic patterns consistent with persons with various neurologic disorders. For example, persons with ADHD tend to have dysregulated theta waves in the prefrontal lobe. Persons with autism tend to have dysregulated alpha waves in the right parietal lobe. But did you know that persons with traumatic head injuries also tend to have extremely dysregulated alpha and theta waves? And persons with PTSD and other anxiety disorders tend to have extremely dysregulated beta waves. And why is that important to you? Well, the 6,000 suicides per year clearly tells us that we are missing something, and in many cases that something is that we are improperly diagnosing and improperly treating, because without the ability to look inside the brain and actually observe brainwave dysfunction, we're simply taking our most educated guess. So let us help you take the guesswork out of the equation. Our brain mapping technology is second to none. Our quantitative data reports not only identify specific brainwave dysregulation, but also the area of the brain affected and how that compares with a national database. By adding state-of-the-art neurofeedback training, which utilizes the principles of operant conditioning, we can help you better identify the most effective treatment regimen. Transformations Rehab is a first-of-its-kind pioneer in West Texas and southern New Mexico. And just think, for the first time, we can now see what is actually happening inside the brain before prescribing medication or a treatment regimen. Experts recommend this be a part of every formal assessment for anyone suspected of having intellectual, emotional, or academic challenges. So whether it's an active duty or retired veteran with a traumatic brain injury, stroke, PTSD, or other mental health concerns, or a military dependent with ADD, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, speech and language disorders, whatever the issue may be, So, on behalf of the families, we thank you in advance for the opportunity to serve our military families by providing a complete brain mapping analysis, thus taking the guesswork out of the diagnostic and treatment processes.